Good morning, everybody. Betting for breakfast, powered by the Sharp app. NFL Super Wild Card Weekend. We put a bow. We went out with a bang in the college football season. Nailed Georgia, laid the short line, cashed in, ended the season the right way, and now we are back to hit the NFL playoffs hard before we get into the spring. I'm Mark Drumheller. I'm here with Dave Gleckner. Dave, how you doing, my man? It was nice to wrap up the college football season on a big win. Now we get into the NFL playoffs, and it is a beautiful day to bet NFL football outside.
Oh, it's a beautiful day to stay inside, tune up that TV, put a couple of them on, and watch some NFL games. We got 2 tonight, 3 tomorrow, 1 on Monday. It's a super wild card weekend. And Drums, as you know, going into this thing, every year people start this wild card weekend with the hopes of 14-0, the elusive. Well, now it's 13-0. As you won wins. But we've always had that story of 11-0. The sports guy back in the day, Bill Simmons, would always write about it. I remember one year, I think I got out to like 7, and then someone got me. But we're off and running. We're going to preview these games this weekend, the 6 of them, and maybe we'll get off to a hot start and, scare that 13-0 record a little bit. I'd love it.
It'd be nice to give it a run. Listen, I remember you came out the gate hot last year, if I remember correctly.
I did.
You were all over the Browns and Baker and, came out the gates real fast. So let's hope for the same type of thing today. I think we're on opposite sides in a couple games, which is going to be good. We'll give the audience, both perspectives, right? Which is good, and everybody out there, listen, this is what you need to do to get ready for Super Wild Card Weekend. First thing you have to do, if you haven't, go download the Sharp app, right? Get in the Discord community as well. The links are in the description. Get in the app, download the app for free, right? With the app, you can track your bets, right? You can track your bets, go 13-0 in the playoffs, put it all over social media, right? You get the best odds from all your favorite sports books, DraftKings, FanDuel, PointsBet, you name it, Parks Casino. They have all the odds, so you make sure you get the best number, which is key because this time of the season, the lines are tight. Everything's refined. The books have 18 weeks of data to go off of, right? So these games are pretty tough to call. You don't want to give up any edge. Make sure you get the best number with the Sharp app. So do that. Download the app. There's a ton of promotions on the app where you can get, bonuses from the different sports books. So make sure you become a part of the community for the NFL playoffs. That is the number one thing. Sweat with us, bet with us, and collect with us, most important, as we cash in on these NFL playoffs. Now, Dave, Wild Card Weekend is a little different. It's a little different than what we've seen during the season. Everything is magnified. Everything is more intense. You hear the players talk about the speed of the game. Everything is amplified. The home field advantage, we laugh about that during the playoffs. We don't care during the regular season. We don't care about home field advantage. We get to the playoffs, those stadiums are rocking. It makes a difference. Silent counts, all that come into importance, right? One of the big trends we talked about all week, you'll hear is first-time playoff quarterbacks tend to struggle a little bit in the playoffs. What are some of the key things that you kind of looked for when you were handicapping these games this weekend?
Yeah, so the first thing I did is I'm trying to open up and look at the team's strengths and weaknesses and then see how they match up against other teams. So just bottom line, looking at some DVOAs and looking at some, yards per play expected, then also looking at, positive yards game rushing passing versus defense rushing passing. So just trying to at least put me on one side and try and prove myself. And then I do start to look at the other key trends that you mentioned, first time starting quarterback, rookie quarterback starting in the playoffs. We're going to see one of those. Coaches on the road. There's a bunch of things here. When you have to travel with a team, I don't care what your record is in playoffs. I want to see how you travel with the team, what you did with that team, what your record is on the road in the playoffs. And ATS is also very important. So those are the few things that I tried to lump together. And Drum, you probably may have done this too, but I also look at kind of the Pythagorean theory. They put that out there. Looking at this expected point differential and the actual point differential in games, and then trying to figure out what these teams really are. Because a lot of times, some lucky teams do make the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen some fraud teams kind of enter the playoffs. We've talked about
Pittsburgh,
A bunch of different angles,
last year.
right? Pittsburgh last year limping down the stretch, right? We see that a little bit with some of the teams. You can look at, that's one of the things I do is, I'll run my data, I'll run my metrics, yards per play, success rate, EPA, all that stuff. Run it for the first half, run it for the second half. See what the difference is, right? Because, some of these teams, their first half performances really carried their total number if you look at it in totality in the season, where in the second half, they were much less successful, right? Two teams squaring off on Monday night come to mind. The Cardinals and the Rams, both very good in the first half, kind of dipped off in the second half. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to tear up these games, guys. We're going to talk about each one, and we're going to give you our perspective on each. Some of them we bet, some of them we didn't bet. That's how it goes, right? You can get all our pro handicappers picks over at the sharpbets.app. You go over there, you join the community. The link is below, right? You can get a free 30 days. Go in there for the NFL playoffs. Give it a try. The professional handicappers are going to have plays on these games. But we're going to go over each of them, give you our perspective, our picks, our bets, where we would lean. I usually don't like to use the term lean, but we're going to really break down each game, in totality. And that's going to start with the first one. And that's going to be the Raiders taking on the Bengals. This is a game opened up at around, it looked like opened up at 6, back and forth between 5.5 and 6. We're seeing, money on the Bengals in here. It looks like about 65%. It kind of depends on what sports books you use. That the money can be a little bit, tricky, kind of depending on, which pool of books they're pulling from there. But this is Joe Burrow, high flying Cincinnati Bengals went from, winning, very few games last year to winning the AFC North, came out of nowhere. And now they take on a Raiders team, Dave, that just won't go away.
Yeah, they really won't. And, they've been really bringing back some positive returns for bettors over the past few weeks. The upset on the road at Indianapolis, and then once again, an upset at home against the Chargers. And here they are in the playoffs, sitting at the 6th seed. And you can convince me all you want about that game last week. The Raiders were going to try and kick a field goal. They got beat by the Kansas City Chiefs this year by cumulative of like 90-20. It's right around there by like 70 points. They had no interest in being the 7th seed and having to go to Kansas City. Say what you want. I do think they were trying to get this game. They were trying to get to Cincinnati and play the Bengals, who they did lose to earlier in the year at home 32-13. Different Raiders team, one that's playing with a little bit more, I guess I would say, it's not passion, but a little bit more urgency. They just seem to understand what's on the line now. And I do think you're going to see a different game today.
Yeah, nobody wanted them here. Let's be honest. Nobody wanted the Raiders here. Everybody wanted Justin Herbert and the Chargers and the Powder Blues, and instead they get the silver and black. The Raiders just won't go away. So let's get into this game. We're going to break it down. I'm going to lead things off, right? I see you rocking the Bengals jersey. I'm thinking we might be on different sides here because I'm on the Raiders. I got them at +6. I love the Raiders in this spot. You touched on it a little bit. You look at how they've played on the road as a dog this year. 5.5. They getting 5.5 points. They won outright at Pittsburgh. They won as 5-point dogs at Denver. They won on Thanksgiving as 7-point dogs at Dallas. Indianapolis, they went there and shocked them, 8.5-point dogs. They love this role. They embrace this role. They love that nobody wants them there. And they're playing a Cincinnati team that I feel like is a little bit overrated by the market based on that big win against Kansas City. I think Kansas City is a team that matches up very well for them because they have similar types of teams, right? High explosive offense, defense is a little bit leaky, that sort of thing. So I thought that was a good matchup. I was on the Bengals in that matchup, but I think this is a little bit of a different story, Dave. I think the pass rush is going to be huge, but not in the way that a lot of people think. A lot of people think, oh, Max Crosby, is he going to get the Burrow? Burrow, number one against the blitz in the NFL, right? Internal clock, right? He's going to get rid of the ball before the pass rush gets there. But what it does is it's going to allow the Raiders to drop more people back in coverage. And I think that is really where they could give Burrow a hard time here. And I think that's what you're going to see. In the beginning of the season, right, Burrow struggled throwing a lot of interceptions. And a key part of that was they weren't balanced on offense. It was throw, right? Raiders very good against the run in the second half of the season. We saw them with big stands against the Chargers. Chargers couldn't run on them in high leverage situations. So if they can shut down that run, make Zach Taylor panic in his first playoff game, become one-dimensional, throw, that plays right into the pass rush with Crosby. The Raiders defensive backs will be all over it. I like the Raiders here. I think they can get it done. I think they're live on the money line, but the +6 was too juicy for me to pass up.
Hey, you got good points. I mean, Max Crosby led the NFL in pressures. And what do we have in the case of the Bengals today? We have a very leaky right tackle in Isaiah Prince, who had come in for an injured right tackle, and he's just been a disaster in pass protection. So that's going to be a key matchup, how the Bengals choose to try and give him help. And maybe they chip block a little bit. We'll see but that's the key, I think, really from the Raiders defensive standpoint. You're right. They're the least blitzing. You thought the Eagles didn't blitz. This team blitzes even less. They play the most zone coverage in the league. And Cincinnati has pedestrian numbers against zone, very much better against man-to-man. I'm with you from that standpoint. But let's get into the real details. The Raiders are negative 65-point differential, which grades out to somewhere in the 8-9, 7-10 range. They are 5-1 in games decided by 3 points or less. That's like almost impossible these days. Those are 50-50 games. Look at the Bengals. They're 3-4 in games like that. The Bengals on the other side too, they're 4-2 against playoff teams this year. What are their 2 losses? Overtime games against Green Bay and San Fran, 2 pretty strong teams, and overtime, as we said. So the Bengals have showed up. They're 6-2 ATS in their last 8, 5-0 actually in their last 5 against the Raiders. And I just start to look at these matchups. The Bengals are actually 5th best against the run, 27th against the pass. So you're going to have, can you rely on Derek Carr? Can you trust Derek Carr in Cincinnati in 30-degree weather to really be able to exploit this Cincinnati weakness? And on the other hand, the Raiders, man, I think they're 22nd or 26th in the red zone, which is last in the playoffs. If they can't convert some of these and they rely on field goals, it's going to go back to similar what we saw earlier in the first game. I like the Bengals a lot in this one. I think they're fired up. I think they're the better team. And I just think the Raiders are lucky to be here. You got that, temporary coach in Basica.
Bisaccia, yeah. Bisaccia.
Yeah, Versace. Oh, I'm not Italian, but I try. So I just don't know how much they got there. That's their trophy. I think Bengals are playing for bigger things. I like the Bengals. I got them at 5 on DraftKings 2 days ago. You can get them at 5.5 today on both DraftKings and Caesars. I like the Bengals, and I think they show up well. I think they win by about 10, and they're going to rep for the Cincinnati Bengals today.
In the jungle. In the jungle.
That's right.
I love
Remember the Icky Shuffle back in the day? The Icky.
I do.
I hope they break
Great
it out today.
points brought up by you is the red zone. The Raiders bottom 5 in red zone offense and defense, right? So that's going to be critical when you're talking about, these low scoring games. And Derek Carr has not performed well in cold weather throughout the course of his career. So something to watch on. They will need him, to exploit that Bengals secondary if the Raiders are going to keep this game close. But it's going to be a fun one, man. It's good to get different teams in there. Like you get this Raiders team. Nobody wants them there. You get the Bengals with Joe Burrow. Like it feels like yesterday the Bengals were laughing stock of the league, right? So it's awesome. I think to see these new teams here, going to be a lot of fun. Me personally, I think that this is a big number for a team like Cincinnati to lay in their first playoff game. I saw an interesting stat that's going to play on their Eagles, who we talk about as well, but teams that won 4 games or less, 1-13 straight up in the last 14 playoff games. So, that's something to keep an eye on. Big jump from Cincinnati going from the type of season they had last year to the type of season they're having this year. But doesn't mean they can't get it done. Like you said, you talked about the Raiders, the point differential. I think, minus 65. I think, if you take out the Chiefs game, they're probably like plus 20. Against everybody but the Chiefs, they're like plus 20. Yeah. But, listen, I get the point. Great, excellent points by you. We're on different sides. I don't know, man. Maybe I don't think there's a way we can middle it so we both win. So one of us are going to have bragging rights next week. But let's get on to the next game. We want to keep this thing moving. We got 6 games, I think.
I want you to push.
Oh, come on now. Give me the money. We're here to get the money. But the next game, we're going to talk about the night game, the game nobody wants to go to. They're giving away tickets in Buffalo because it's going to be so cold, 0 degrees or, whatever they got cooking over there in Buffalo. They all want to sit inside. They either want to sit outside and stand and watch the game by the burning tables in the parking lot, or they want to sit home. I'm sure they got the moose head on the wall in Buffalo and, have themselves a cold beer and watch the game. But nobody wants to go to the stadium. They're giving away these tickets. New England at Buffalo, the trilogy, game 3, right? New England won in the win game at Buffalo the first time, very low scoring. Second game in New England a few weeks ago opened things up, 33-21 win by Buffalo. This is an interesting game because we have the largest spread out of the 3 games here, -4.5. So, Buffalo closed -3 and then +1 in the previous 2 meetings. And now we're seeing it at 4.5. We're seeing some 5s pop up at some other spots. So 4.5, 5 points here. Dave, I'm going to let you lead off things here because I don't have a play on the side. So, let's discuss the side and then we'll get into the total, which I like much better.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at the 2 games, we understand that the first game, to me, is somewhat of an aberration. That's not an NFL football game. Mac Jones threw 3 times, the lowest amount of attempts in a win since, back in the Chuck Bednarik days. So we'll call it that. It was an odd game, but the Patriots played one that was just perfectly coached in that game, and they were able to win. And then we get to New England, a more calmer day, one that was probably just more representative of the gap between these 2 teams, because I do think there's a gap. Buffalo finished in the top 10 in almost every standard metric on offense and defense in the NFL. They're balanced on both sides of the ball. And where the Bills are very heavy defense, they're 4th overall in defense in the league. And their offense, they run the ball pretty well. They're efficient throwing, but they're not explosive. They don't put up a lot of explosive plays. So they really do rely on that defense to give them shorter fields and really play a multi-possession game, play a lot of possessions. That's really what they're looking for. And the big thing with the Bills is I just think Josh Allen, it just needs to happen. And I know that's not stats and that's nothing that backs it. But, for a guy that I thought came out, rockets on fire, except for the first game against Pittsburgh, was playing great, looked MVP status for a little bit, then hit a lull. And then now since losing that New England game, they're back to 4-1 and playing good football. They won when they needed to win this division. So we get into the night game, the cold game, and really the key for me in this is it's a rookie quarterback. And I just can't back my money on a rookie quarterback. We know it since 2000, rookie quarterbacks are 6-8 overall winning, but we haven't seen a rookie quarterback win a playoff game since 2012 when Russell Wilson beat the Washington football team, then the Redskins. It takes a lot for rookie quarterbacks to win this league. You're talking 9-10 years. And it just doesn't look well. 0-4 since that time they've been, and they're 0-3, 1-3 against the spread, losing their last 3. I just think this is a really tough ask for Mac Jones. Rookie quarterbacks average under 200 yards per game, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. If he throws a pick or so here, they got to rely on him to throw. I just think this goes into the Bills' hands. Stephon Diggs torches the Patriots. I think he finds a way to have another big game. I think the Bills cover this number. I think it's a good game, great game to watch. It's going to go back and forth, but the fact of the matter is, Bill's great. We know that McDaniels is great, and my man with the mullet's great, Stevie. But it takes more than coaches, and I just think we're asking a lot for Mac Jones to win this game. I like Buffalo, and I think Buffalo is able to control that offense and score enough points to win probably a low-scoring battle.
Look at Dave, big favorite Dave, just laying points all over the place. Give me the chalk, Bengals, Bills. Let's rock and roll. Listen, I love the Bills, and they were my pick to win the Super Bowl. I didn't play them to win the Super Bowl, but I took them plus 1,200 to have the most points scored throughout the playoffs. So I'm not going to get a lot today in this game. And a couple things, and this is kind of the reason I'm on the under. If I had to lean to take a side, I would probably go with the Patriots, but did not bet the side. Bet the under here at 44, and I think it's a solid play. And this is how I see it real quickly is, we talk about, Mac Jones and rookie quarterbacks being in this situation, right? I'm comfortable that the coaches in New England can guide him through this, right? They've had practice with Tom Brady, guiding a young quarterback through these playoff games, right? Mac Jones, not Tom Brady, not saying that, but out of all the first-time quarterbacks, I think he'll be ready. Played with Alabama under Nick Saban, bright lights. I don't think it's going to be too big for him. Josh Allen, in cold weather, under 31 degrees, 166 yards per game, 6 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, right? He's talked about this week about how he loses circulation at his feet, and he's trying to mitigate that. So the Buffalo offense, I don't think is going to be what we saw in the game that they were able to win 33-21. It's not going to be like the win game, right? I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle, which is why I'm on the under here. I think that, you talk about, some of the players on the Bills offense, how are they going to respond to the cold? Listen, Josh Allen fastballs are hard enough to catch and when it's 70 degrees out. Now it's 0 degrees, right? So you're catching bowling balls, from that guy. So that's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of things on play here, but that's why I'm on the under 44 here. A tremendous game. I can't wait to see it. Obviously, Dave, we talked about this, how I'm a huge fan of coaching. I put a lot of value on coaching, probably why I lean to the Patriots, but this is very similar. This is kind of how you can look at almost it has a little bit of the same feel as the national championship game, right? We know the Bills are the better team. They're laying the number. We're not sure exactly why they're laying the number. You know what I mean? Because the other teams were kind of even. It could be low scoring, that sort of thing. We think the number might be a little bit too big. But in that game, laying the points with Georgia was the right side, and it was the public was like, Nick Saban, underdog, give it to me. And I think you're seeing that same kind of vibe from people backing the Patriots, like Bill Belichick 4.5, let's do it.
I think that's a great comparison. I know why it's 4. I mean, the Bills are a better team. I mean, home field advantage alone is probably worth at least 3. But I mean, I get that the earlier games didn't have a spread of that magnitude. But let's also look at a few other quick things on New England. They were 6-0 on the road and then lost their last 2 at the Colts and at the Dolphins. And of their 6 wins, none were really quality except that one in Buffalo. And we already talked about it, a wind-aided game. So I'm just not sure where they are in that aspect. And then look at their record against playoff teams this year. They're 2-3. They're 2 wins. Titans, who had no Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, I don't even know if they showed up off the bus with a full team. And then they had the wind-aided game against the Bills. So it's a team that I'm just they beat the doors off bad teams. Jacksonville 50-10. The Jets, God, it was like 100-0. But it's this is a step up in class. Last time they played someone like the Bills, they lost by 12. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating game because the other side of that coin is they played Tampa really tough, lost the game on the field goal at the end. They played Dallas pretty tough. So right, but they've played competitively. They didn't just beat up on the Jets all year. I think they're a pretty good team. I think it's going to be a good game. I'm excited for tonight, but I do hope the Bills get through because, like I said, plus 1,200 tickets. So hopefully they win, they cover, and the game goes under. So how about 2014 Bills? We all go to the bank.
My futures were on the Bills and Rams at the beginning of the season, so I'm riding an 11-1 ticket from opening the season. So but that I didn't want to talk about that because that's not what's skewing my handicapping in this game. I do think the Bills have an uphill sled to get to the Super Bowl and win, and I think it's a long shot. But this is their big one.
All right, perfect. Let's move on to Sunday's games. We got about 20 minutes left, so we want to fire through these games. We got 3 on Sunday, and then we got the Monday night game. So we're going to start with our hometown Philadelphia Eagles, Dave, taking on Tampa, right? This game sitting around 8.5. We've seen it go to 9.5. Some books pushed it to 9.5 to protect those teasers. How do you see this one, Dave? Weather is going to be a factor. I mean, it looks like, we're going to see wind 20 miles per hour, gusts up to, 37 miles per hour, which if that wind is that high, I think that can be a factor in this game.
Yeah, and that's really where, just from a clean game perspective, Eagles don't match up well against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs are 3rd in the league against the rush, 5th in yards per carry. They've created the 7th most sacks. They're a very good front defensive line. What do the Eagles do well? Run the ball, right? First in the NFL. So that's a tough matchup. And then on the other side of the ball, what do the Bucs do well? Throw, right? Brady led the league in attempts, yards, touchdowns. Eagles, 31st in the league in sacks, 32nd in the league in completion percentage for quarterbacks. We know what the Eagles have beat They've beaten the Teddy Bridgewaters, the Garrett Gilberts, the Sam Darnolds, the Zach Wilsons. They haven't beat Tom Brady. And it's just a bad matchup on both sides of the ball. But the weather's the great equalizer, right? And the only key to this game that I can say for the Eagles is this. In the 4 games the Bucs have lost, they've scored 7, 7, 6, and 0 at half for an average of about 5.5 points. It's going to be tough for the Bucs here if they're not able to get the ball rolling early and they get into a game near halftime that's close. I think the Eagles have a great shot. I don't really have a side on this. I guess if I did, I'm just cheering Go Birds. I got the 41-33 behind me. I just think it's going to be tough, but the weather's an equalizer. I think I'll just sit back, have a 6-pack, and enjoy it.
Absolutely love it, man. And that's what I'm going to do. I don't have a side on this one either. Typically I don't like to bet the hometown team, right? It's just like to enjoy the games. But I do think the game does provide value on both sides. Like, I think, both these teams, I think at this number are good teaser legs, especially when you consider the weather. Like, I think, pushing, Tampa down under a field goal, I think is a pretty good, teaser leg. And I think the Eagles bumping them up to 14.5 to make it more than the 14, I think is a good teaser leg as well. I mean, I think, would I want to, take the Eagles at plus 8.5 against Tampa? I don't know. You're really kind of banking on the weather if you think they're going to stay within that number. But the 14.5, in a weather type of game, in a game with wind like that, now you're talking, because the Tampa offense has been explosive at home. So I think that's going to be the key, is I think the Eagles can run the ball in this game. Can the defense kind of hold them down? So that's how I would approach this game. Definitely hit it, with a teaser, look for another leg in another one of these games, because I think it's going to be, I don't think Tampa's going to run away with it, but I'm not sure if the Eagles can stay within the number either.
I agree. I think, it's a simple way to look at it, but you're covering by half on either side. The Eagles at halftime against Garrett 10-10, against Jake Fromm 3-3, and then losing to Tyler Heineke like 16-7. Last 3 meaningful games, the Eagles were very bad in the first half, had great second halves. If they're very bad against Tampa in the first half, don't expect to come back. So really, I think you'll know by halftime. I really do. So think who you like in the first half, and that should be your side. I love the teaser angle, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the best way to approach it. Adam checking in, 27-24. Birds. He likes the Birds. I'll tell you what, man. You can get the Birds.
You know what?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
We're going fly.
We're back, baby.
Fly. I love it.
We're back.
I love it. Listen, you can get if you think the Birds are going to win outright, right? You could probably get them at I know yesterday it was minus 3.5 was like plus 500. So like 2.5, you could probably get around plus 400. I'm guessing somewhere in that range. If you think the Eagles are going to win, like that's the thing. Like if you're going to take the Eagles to win, don't even play the money line. I would probably play alternate spread minus 2.5, get it under a field goal, do it that way. I don't know. I mean, it's tough. I think they're going to have a hard time winning outright, but love the enthusiasm. Hopefully they come away with the win, because I would love to see this playoff run continue for the hometown Eagles. But let's move on to the San Francisco-Dallas game, Dave, and this is one of the most fascinating games, I think, of the whole weekend. You got Dallas laying 3.5 here, 3 in some spots. That line's kind of moving around. Dan Quinn against Kyle Shanahan. That's really, it looks like flat 3 across the board now. I got San Francisco at 3.5 in this game. I absolutely love it. I think the Shanahan-Quinn matchup is going to be huge. You look at San Francisco's offense. What do they want to do? They want to do, misdirection, yards after catch. I think that plays into success against the Dallas defense that is very aggressive, very high risk, high reward. And I think on the other side of the ball, Jimmy Garoppolo has been very good. He's tied for 4th in EPA per play with quarterbacks with Aaron Rodgers. So I think Jimmy Garoppolo has been, very, very good for the 49ers down the stretch. Another key stat on the other side of the ball, the Niners pass rush has been very good as well. Second half of the season, second in the NFL in sacks. And I think that's the key. If they're able to get after Dak, then I think that kind of slows down the Dallas offense and helps their secondary.
Yeah, we're on the same side in this one. And I can, I don't call the Cowboys America's team. I don't think any of us from around here does. but I can call them this year. They're the people's champs. They were 13-4 against the spread, the best team in the NFL against the spread this year. I think they got out to like a 7-0 start. A lot of people just undervalued. They would beat the bad teams by a lot and hang in the good games like we saw against Tampa Bay early in the season. So with that said, they have a good matchup against San Fran too. Dallas is strong in the passing game, and San Fran has a very depleted secondary. But as you mentioned, San Fran's front four and in their creative blitzing style has been able to get home in the second half of the season. What was it like? They had the second most sacks. Bosa's been a mess for opposing quarterbacks. He's just been back there. You might as well put his address on the quarterback because he's coming home. And on the other standpoint, San Fran, man, I looked at this. Dallas, they're 6-0 when they hold teams to under 100 yards rushing. They're a pedestrian team on the other side when they don't. And what does San Fran do well? 7th most rush yards in the league, 4th most rush attempts. And that doesn't always come from just the running backs. When they come from Debo on the sides, they're very creative in that run game, as you talked about earlier. And in games they needed to win this year, think about the Rams game. They ran it down the Rams' throat. This was a game that they were on, teetering on the edge of extinction. The Rams had just got OBJ. And they ran. Eli Mitchell came out that night, and he is a hard, aggressive runner. I think you're going to see the same against Dallas. I think they're just going to try and control this game. They're 2-1 ATS when their dogs are 3 or more this year. So it hasn't been a lot of sample size, but enough for me to say I think San Fran outright.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I mean, listen, I took the 3.5, but I think the money line is definitely in play here. You look at dogs in general in this round, right? And I want to say they're 14-2 against the spread since 2017. Road teams, I think, are like 15-3 because sometimes you get like the road favorite in these rounds because of the seeding and that sort of thing. But dogs have been very, very profitable, in this round in the past. Doesn't mean that's going to happen, every game, on this weekend's card, but definitely something to look out for. Niners, I think, definitely a live dog here against the Cowboys. So let's move on to the game. Probably the biggest, largest spread in wild card history, to be honest with this one. I think it's like 13.5, I want to say. Let's look at the board real quick to make sure we're giving the accurate information. Yeah, so we're seeing 12.5s. We're seeing some 13s right now. And the Pittsburgh Steelers head into Kansas City, into Arrowhead. Dave, this is a game, we talked about this last night a little bit on the phone. I don't believe in Pittsburgh at all. And that's really what it comes down to. I took the under in this game. I went under the 46.5. I think that, I don't expect much scoring from Pittsburgh, and I think we could see Kansas City take their foot off the gas a little bit in this matchup. So I like it. I think if you look at Kansas City in their home games this year, outside of that Raiders game, they really haven't put up a ton of points at home. So I think, we're going to have some cold, it's going to be cold in Kansas City as well. So I like the under in this matchup. Do you have anything on the side real quick on this game, KC and Pittsburgh?
So again, if the Raiders, we talked about point differential, they had the worst coming in the playoffs. Steelers were right there, minus 55. They're not a quality team. They probably shouldn't be in this round. It took a miracle. The Jacksonville Jaguars upsetting the Indianapolis Colts. That's a team that should be here, but they have a quarterback with no heart. So they're stuck on the sidelines, and Pittsburgh's here. And what do we get? We get a stinker of a game, right? And when we expect a stinker of a game, we normally get a little bit more competition than we're expected. It looks too easy. 36-10 in the first matchup. At one point, the Chiefs were up 30-0, just toying with this team. I think that small dink and dunk Steelers type game, if they can try and, just get a little bit going, get the clock moving, keep this into long, sustainable drives, I think they can stay within the number. You make some key points there about the under. When I like the under, I like the points, but also Kansas City at home. Just not firing on all cylinders, winning games, sure, but not really putting up those points that we've seen in the past with Kansas City. How much motivation is there when you smoke the team? And then we're talking about Ben Roethlisberger, his last game. I think, they played hard last week in Baltimore when they thought it was their last game. I think they'll show up again and play hard. If I lean to the side, I do lean towards the Pittsburgh Steelers here. I'm hoping for 13, so I'm going to wait around. Haven't bet it yet. Going to wait around and see how the market settles.
Nice. Absolutely love it. Listen, I like the under. Hopefully we both hit in this one. But it's the Steelers trying to play some mind games with the, hey, why are we even showing up? That sort of thing. I don't know, man. Maybe it's last year. Maybe it's the fact that I lost betting Pittsburgh last year in the wild card round that I can't come around to them. But hopefully it goes under, stays within a number. We both cash there. Let's move on to the last game. Monday Night Football for the first time in NFL history. The Arizona Cardinals, the darlings of the NFL, the first 7 weeks of the season, started 7-0. Kyler Murray, MVP. Everybody was talking about those tickets on Twitter. You don't hear much conversation now about Kyler Murray MVP tickets on Twitter. Actually, those conversations have stopped.
Burn up.
Yeah. They only talk about them in the beginning of the season. Now, all of a sudden, no one's flaunting those tickets around. Twitter's funny like that. But listen, this game, Rams, what is it, laying 4? Is that where we're at right now? We're still at 4 with the Rams. We're seeing some 4s, some cheap 4s actually out there. Wondering if it will get to 3.5. A lot of money coming in on the Cardinals in this matchup. Cardinals 6-0 is a road dog, I think, this season.
They are,
against the spread.
6-0 is a dog overall.
As a dog overall. Yep. Okay. And 6-0 is a dog. The Cardinals taking on Sean McVay, a Rams team that, is really my big concern here in this matchup is Matthew Stafford. Turnovers are probably the single most predictive, metric as far as, which team wins and loses in the playoffs. And Matthew Stafford's had a tough time, turning the ball over. 7 interceptions the last 3 games. But Arizona, not the same, right? I think they scored 30-plus points in 6 of their first 7 weeks, and they've only scored more than 30 once since week 10. So that offense, not the same with DeAndre Hopkins. But, we have the Kyler and Cliff in their playoff debut angle as well. Dave, how do you see this one playing out?
I tried to look at this one from so many different angles, but the fact of the matter is you brought up 6-0 as underdogs this year. They're 8-1 ATS on the road. Which is, super impressive. 12. They're plus 12 in the turnover differential on the road, which is just crazy to think of. Does that come back to regression? I don't know in one game if it does, but and then you look at overall in the past 2 seasons, 13-3-2 ATS as dogs. So just cash and tickets as dogs. And we're on the other side, the Rams, 11-9 ATS as home favorites. It's not, it's not overwhelming, and it doesn't really swing you one way or the other. And then I just try and get into, what I know. And I know the Cardinals in games they really needed, and when they went on the road and when they were doubted, they won. And I go back to that Dallas game where I did have a live bet on them, and they did play a game that was more consistent in a way they should have been playing. They ran the ball. They did misdirections. They looked a little more like San Francisco with some of their wide receivers getting the jet sweep. So I just think that, these two teams know each other enough. Cardinals won there early in the season when they were dogs, 37-20, and dominated that game. Had Stafford throwing picks, like you said. And I just think if we go back to what the Arizona Cardinals are when they're playing well, that's a smash mouth football team on both sides of the ball that creates turnovers. I expect that team to show up. Cliff Kingsbury is my big wild card. Kyler Murray is in a way too, but I think we're going to see Kyler out of the pocket more. I think we're going to see him on the run like he did in the Dallas game. And I think we're going to be able to see a good Kyler this week. I don't know if we see good Stafford. I think there's a ton of pressure on this Rams team to get it done with all the moves they made, the Von Millers, and now bringing in Eric Weddle out of a 2-year retirement. They just, OBJ, we've talked about it. They've sold their soul to the devil. There's a lot. I don't know if they stand up to it. Maybe they squeak one out, but I like the Cardinals with the points in this one.
Yeah, I think you're on the right side. I didn't bet the side in this one. I'm still kind of looking at the game, but I think I'm right there with you. I think with these two teams, you just I can't get comfortable laying points with this Rams team more than a field goal. So I definitely agree with you. I think the Cardinals are the right side here. Got a little time before Monday night before, place any wagers, but right now, definitely looking at the Cardinals in this matchup. Absolutely love it. So, there it is. There's Super Wild Card Weekend, Dave. It's going to be a ton of fun. Can't wait to see these games, to go through it. Let's bring on Lexi now. Let's get her input. I'm dying to see what game she's most excited for. And
quickly
this weekend, there she is, still rocking the Michigan.
Hi. Yeah, I got you.
For the record, let me just say this. That was 3 dogs to end. So don't call me Chalk Dave. All right, Lexi, all yours.
There you go.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be a good weekend of football.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is.
definitely. It's
So
gonna
what are you
be a
pumped to
lot of
see
fun.
the most?
So I'm really excited for the Bengals Raiders game, only because I mean I think ultimately the Raiders end up pulling it off because they're just like this team that just won't go away, fighting it through. But I really love Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase duo. It's just incredible. I just think that they're here. They got a playoff appearance. I don't think they're going to win it, but I think it is going to be a good game. It's going to be close. I am bummed that they're playing right off the bat because I would like to see both of these teams advance because I like both of them in the playoffs this year. But it's just the way the chips fell. So I'm really excited for that game, though.
Now, Dave, that's the 3-6, right? So if the Bengals win, they go to Kansas City. So they go to Kansas City and you get that rematch. That would be a lot of fun. But if they do win, hopefully they don't win by more than 6 points.
Right.
Now, Lexi, let me ask you. Yeah, let me ask you this question, Lexi. So the Raiders have been linked to Jim Harbaugh, right? So a lot of talk about Harbaugh going to the NFL. The Raiders have been a place of interest that we've heard. Do you think it's possible that subconsciously, in the back of your mind, that you want the Raiders to lose because you don't want them to win? Because if they, you know what I mean? Because if they win, well, actually, you should be rooting for them to win. If they win, then maybe they keep the coach, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's probably that might be a little bit of why I picked them, but at the same time, hiring, that defensive line coach from Notre Dame, Michigan man, I just don't think that he would accept that job without having a head coach established, set. Like that hire kind of has me on cruise control now because I think Harbaugh's a guy that he's going to do what he does the way that he wants to do it. He doesn't care what anyone else says. He loves getting people talking. He loves people guessing and not knowing what's happening. And to be honest, it's like, this is his dream job. I know, like, going to the NFL, maybe the Bears for a little while was the thing, Raiders. I'll say, like, with his wife, she has ties to the West Coast, and unfortunately her mother just recently passed away. So that was kind of playing into my mind that they'd head back out west. But then once this hire happened, I have a hard time believing that he leaves, but I also think too that the Raiders should stick with who they got, I mean, I think that the guys play hard for him. There's good stuff already. I mean, obviously I don't know, like, behind the scenes and stuff, but it seems like everything's going well. So I don't know if I'd like even stir that up if they did lose, because it's like they've been playing well under him. So we'll see. You don't know until Harbaugh makes the announcement what he's going to do.
That's right. You never know. But I'll tell you, if the Raiders win, it's a great point. It's going to be tough for them to get. I mean, how do you fire this coach? He takes them deep into the playoffs.
They will. It's the Raiders' way, guys. The Raiders only go with big names. They go out for Lane Kiffins when he's 30 years old. They go for John Gruden for 10-year contracts. Like, the Raiders aren't holding on to this temporary, and I can't say his name, so help me out, Bisaccia.
Yeah.
No, I'm not Italian. Anyway, they're just not. I'm sorry. They're going for the big. They're going for the big pretty thing, and it might be Harbaugh. It might be. John Ross will have a say in that too, or Stephen Ross, the dude down.
Stephen Ross, No, he came out and said he wasn't going to poach from his alumni, which I think it'd be silly if he did. You know what I mean? Like, so I kind of like that he cut that, but I have it a close one. I have the Raiders winning 28-23. I think it comes down to the end. Like, I think it's going to be a hard fought battle, but it looks like John was saying heading east in the short week. But that cold Derek Carr. And here's the thing: I can't rely on Derek Carr. I'm not choosing this because I think Derek Carr can easily go in and take care of business when it needs to be done. Okay, I think the team as a whole can pull this off, but like I said, I'm torn.
Did we lose her? Where's she at?
She's torn. All I know is she's torn.
She is torn.
Yeah.
Not be upset.
There she is.
Oh, there you go. Oh, what happened? Oh, sorry.
You're back.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm not going to be upset if the Bengals win. I love Joe Burrow. I love his swag. I love his, whole aura. Like, even being from Ohio State, I don't know. That doesn't even matter to me. You know what I mean? Like, I love who he is. So, it's going to be a toss up, but I have the Raiders winning it.
Nice. So before we get out of here, give us one play that you're most confident in, one team that you're most confident in to get it done.
So I am going for the Niners against the Cowboys.
Love it. Look at that, man.
Growing up in the 90s as a kid, okay, let's say everyone was like a Niners fan. You had just like the whole aura. I've been a Niners fan just as like a player or like, the players and stuff like that. But, Cowboys are going to cowboy, you know what I mean? It's like I don't think they're going to come out and take this. I think that the Niners end up pulling away with it. I love watching Deebo Samuel. He's just unreal. I mean, one of the best in the NFL. I think that I'm confident that the Niners walk away with this. I
love it, man.
I actually have them winning by a touchdown. So 31-28.
Nice. Let's do it. That'll be good enough for me. Good enough for us to cash our tickets. And listen, everybody checking in the chat. Adam, John, we appreciate you guys. We're going to be back, of course, next week to talk about the divisional round. So we'll have less games. We'll have a little bit more time to dig in a little bit deeper. But the NFL playoffs is going to be a ton of fun. It's going to be very exciting. Hopefully everybody cashes those tickets. We come back next week a lot richer. Thank you for tuning in. For Dave Gleckner, for Lexi, I'm Mark Drumheller. Make sure you go download the Sharp app, be a part of the community, and let's cash some tickets. We'll see you guys next week.
See ya.